Good morning, everybody. Welcome along to Fuji for the second weekend of the SRO's Japan Cup, a national championship here in Japan for the very best GT3 drivers and cars. Partnering the GT World Challenge Asia Championship and this, therefore, the SRO Power Tour, weekend number 1 of 2. Fuji, a real homeland of Japanese motorsport, one of the older racetracks in Japan, first opened in 1966, a very different layout back then, but still used today, of course, in global motorsport, not for Formula One, although for a few years when Toyota were part of the F1 World Championship, it did visit here, but obviously it is now a mainstay of sports car racing. Sugo was the opening weekend back in May, and we will be going to Okayama at the end of August, and they will wrap the championship at the Suzuka 1,000-kilometer weekend. A brand new calendar for next year, even more exciting with the return of Motegi. Here is the circuit. It is 4.5 kilometers in length. Expect lap times around the 1:38 today, although the lap record in the 37s back in 2018. And very different sectors around the lap for the teams to get their heads around, with the big long straight requiring limited downforce, but then you go through the sweeping mid-speed turns 4 and 5 and 13, 14, 15, and you then suddenly need a compliant car. The K-Tunes Ferrari of Betty Chen leaves pit lane. We have, of course, our McLaren back with us, thanks to Uematsu, who was in a Ferrari last year, but 2 years ago on his own in the McLaren. He'll share that car with Kenta Yamashita once again. Very, 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 very celebrated professional racer here in Japan, one of the best. And has won GT500 Super GT titles back in 2019, 24 and 25 actually, as well as the Super Formula Championship. So very, very exciting driver in Sugo. Very first time in a GT3 car, coming from single-seaters, coming from that sort of very different world, a different car to get used to. So perhaps wasn't at its maximum in Sugo, but expect great things from the McLaren that ended up with not wonderful results, did it, in Sugo? Where did they finish in Sugo? Oh yeah, sorry, 2 third positions. They were on the podium in both, so that's not bad at all. Squabbling for track position out on circuit, which is totally unnecessary. You've got plenty of track. If I look at the tracker, we've got all the cars in the final sector and no cars in sector 1 or 2, or very, very little. So there is a benefit, of course, in being in a queue like this going down the main straight. 1 mile main straight means you can pick up a decent slipstream if you fancy it, but then if the car in front of you is slower, then you get held up. Norwick Racing already an early spinner. Presumably that is, oh, it's in turns 15, 16. So that will be Norwick himself facing the wrong direction. Just a reminder that we've got GT4 class cars as well. And three GT4 cars, a BMW, a Mercedes and a Porsche for this weekend. Just adding a little bit of extra spice. Love a bit of multi-class racing. We pick up the championship leaders after the first weekend. Shinji Jikai in that wonderful Mobil 1 liveried Porsche. There's something about the livery just makes that car look cooler. It's exactly the same car as we see in GT World Challenge Asia and the other Porsches around, but that livery just does something special to the shapes. Also in the field, a Lamborghini from the Spirit of FF Racing team, with Hiroshi Hamaguchi, the AM driver, in that car. He's sort of a bit of a long-term Lamborghini guy, having raced in Super Trofeo before, and when he moved into GT3, he has always stayed with the brand. So even in GT World Challenge Asia, we saw him somewhere last year for a weekend, racing alongside, I seem to remember, Eduardo Mortara that weekend. And Hamaguchi will teammate with Meneki Okura. It'll be an all-AM car. Car Guy Racing with Takashi Toyoda taking over from Kimura alongside Kazuki Ota. So watch out for Car Guy in the 66 machine. I didn't have a very strong weekend in Sugo, one of the very weakest actually, with no points scored across the weekend. And Hamaguchi looking very strong, really is one of the very strongest Asia drivers, but he has backed out of that one. I think they just caught traffic into the chicane there, so has decided to back out. Hopefully it doesn't compromise anybody else. It's got the Lexus coming up behind him, which is new for this season. Haven't seen K-Tune's Lexus this year. They ran the Ferrari and Chevrolet Corvette in the first weekend, but reverting, let's say, back to the Lexus. And Miri Fukuzumi in that car, as of course a Toyota driver. Here's Betty Chen. Remember Betty in the Japan Cup last year here in Fuji, causing a red flag in her GT4 car. Hasn't put her off. She continues to move up through the ranks and is in GT3 for this year. She partners Shinichi Takagi for this season in the Ferrari run by K-Tunes. At the moment, sits in 6th position as we wait for her to improve her lap time up to 3rd. But Hamaguchi really is the man to watch. Purple sector 1 on the last lap, purple sector 1 on this lap as well. Now he just needs to make sure that he's able to clear the traffic and keep rolling forward. Whilst at the moment, the pole car is the Audi of Cornes Racing with Jesse Swinnimer. 2 seconds to the good. Jake Parsons is the teammate in that Pro-Am entry. All-wheel drive racing that ran that car for the first weekend. I think they've partnered with Cornes Racing now for this weekend. As we start to get representative lap times from Hamaguchi in the final sector of the lap in his Lamborghini. And he's given away a lot of time, so purple, but again, I think he's finding himself, bizarrely, finding himself in traffic in the final sector of the lap and losing it all. So only 9th position for Hamaguchi, and beginning to use the best of his tyres and not really making or maximising what he needs. He needs his engineer on the pit wall to have a look at the tracker and find him some space so that he doesn't have a problem. Time's being cancelled as well. Got to be mindful of that as they go over the curbs, and 4 wheels off the circuit means a deletion of track time. Hamaguchi, look, purple again in the first 2 sectors of the lap, but again I can see on his tracker that he may well get caught up in traffic in this final sector, and unfortunately doesn't really have the opportunity to back out of it. He's just got to keep it in and do what he can. Clears the Max Racing Mercedes. It will probably not have compromised him that much, but is there a possibility of a pole position here? Comes towards the line. Of course, this is the all-AM qualifying session, and Hamaguchi again, we're waiting for that final sector. Comes across the line, and he does go pole position this time, and it's a great lap. 1.5 seconds clear of the rest of the field from Hiroshi Hamaguchi in the Lamborghini. Second position now is Akihiro Suzuki, moving up to second, splitting and pushing Uematsu down to third, and Suina in 4th position now. So it was all change on that last lap as Toyota loses the rear end in his Ferrari, the older 488 Ferrari from Car Guy. Slightly missing the apex there. You do really want to be crawling all over that bollard in the inside of turn number 14, or is it 15 perhaps? Through the final turn, and he heads out onto the main straight as we now focus our attention on Suinaga. Suinaga in the Chevrolet in the first weekend, back in the Lexus in the second weekend. A Lexus that's going to soon be replaced by Toyota's new GT3 car. Lots of noise about that over the last couple of weeks. The Lexus really wasn't the car that we saw much of. It existed, but particularly in Europe, not many people running it. And then suddenly in the World Endurance Championship, which runs through a different set of regulations for GT3 than we do here, it became strong, and the package began to be unlocked. But the 96, only 8th position right now. Suzuki in 5th position, making his way round the middle part of the lap. Home race for Ponos. They are literally at the gates of the circuit. They're opposite D station. As we drive in, the Ponos logo right there. So a circuit that they will know well, a circuit that they are able to come and test whenever they wish. But unfortunately, Suzuki here getting caught up behind Toyota in his Car Guy Ferrari, choosing to follow him around the final turn. And I think I would have maybe backed out and chosen the slipstream rather than fighting. I think that's what he's done. So slipstream down to turn 1, take the inside line, and then have a clear lap. Here's the AM champion from a few years, Uematsu. Overall honours is the goal this year. 2 third positions in Sugo. Early part of the championship year, of course, because got Okayama and then Suzuka. But it's great to have the McLaren back. Remember, he was Machina, Team Machina in year 1, which is obviously McLaren. And then chose to switch across to the Ferrari for last year. So good to see him back in McLaren, and also with such a strong teammate alongside him. Once that teammate is able to be fully unlocked, excited to see what they can do. But nobody is able to touch Hiroshi Hamaguchi. Only man in the 39s, a 39.4 from Hamaguchi. Suzuki in second, and Uematsu now within 0.2 of a second of him. So we saw a few improvements. Here's Norrick for Norrick Racing. We'll share that car with Takubamba. Didn't seem to have really gelled with that car, as much as you would expect from a man with so much experience as Taku. Won the Super GT Championship back in 2011. Now, first look actually at this livery. I love it. Not the performance that Shinji Takai will have wanted. Bingo Racing obviously campaigning a few different cars over the last couple of years with Ukiyo Sasahara as the teammate. But there's just, particularly, I think it might be the white wheels and then the blue wheels at the back. Just looks beefy, doesn't it? And a really, really, really cool sort of retro livery on that car. Sort of won it in GT World Challenge Asia, really. Although we've got plenty of Porsches there, don't need any more. Curiously, only one Porsche in the Japan Cup lineup. Ferrari being the preferred car of choice. Even if I would say that Ferrari, particularly the new Ferrari, a hard car to drive, a hard car to unlock. This Norric Racing Ferrari is an Evo, so it's the new version. We've got a mixture of 296s with the Evo package and without. Norric Racing car is one of the newer ones, alongside the Ponos car. Checker flag is out now, and I'm not sure we're going to see many real improvements. Norric does go up into 9th position. Suzuki in the #1 machine, which is an older Ferrari, the original launch spec, rather than the Evo. And is not going to be an improvement. So we'll start on the front row alongside the Lamborghini of Hamaguchi. What did Hamaguchi do in the first weekend? Got a 5th and a 6th in the end with Okura, his teammate. From what we saw in the first part of our qualifying sessions with GT World Challenge Asia is the big grunty front-wheel drive cars seem to have a slight advantage. Your Mercedes, your BMWs in the right hands. There's Max Racing with their Mercedes coming across the line. It was a pretty disappointing weekend last time out for that car, although maybe it's not called Max. Yes, it is Max Racing. And they finish in 6th position in the session for that Mercedes. 2 second positions in Sugo. So scrap the not having a great weekend in Sugo thing. They lie 2nd in the championship by a single point. So my eyes are just not working this morning. So no further improvements from our drivers out on circuit. And we have our grid set. Interestingly, the 25 Mercedes, which is an all-AM car, run by 5-star with Team Dream Drive, a new car to the championship this weekend. That splits, that sits at the tail of our GT3 field, with our GT4 pole car being the Porsche, as you would expect. Maya Orido, Max Orido's daughter, in 2nd position, and the 29 Toyota GR Supra in 3rd in GT4. Let's go down to Hana, who has found our pole position man.
I'm here with the driver from car number 19, Hamaguchi 選手、ポールポジション獲得おめでとうございます。 昨日の練習から今日の予選、自信ありましたか？
そうですね、車はすごいセットが決まってて、大倉さんも早かったんですけど、僕がちょっと自分のドライビングが先週のスパの24時間のポルシェからアジャストできてなくて、遅れ取ってたんですけど、なんとか調整できました。
富士は何を目指してセットを作りますか？
富士は我々アームカテゴリーなんですけど、プロアマを食って表彰台に総合で乗れるように頑張ります。
ありがとうございます。Driver Hamaguchi was very happy with his driving, and because he is in the AMA class, they set up the car to be very drivable for the AM drivers. Thank you.
Yeah, and it clearly has worked. But the thing about Hamaguchi is he's also just a really, really good driver. So thanking the team to make the car compliant. But, you know, that Lamborghini, as we've heard from various drivers, is not an easy car. So, yes, they may have worked on it to make it better for him, but still, he did a very good job. 0.7 of a second clear of the rest of the field in the Lamborghini. I'm not sure when the pro drivers get in the cars, we will see that kind of gap. Here is the results of qualifying 1, setting the grid for today's race with the fastest Pro-Am combination, Cornez Racing #1, with Spirit of FF Racing taking the AM pole position and the overall pole position. In GT4, the Pro-Am pole for the Porsche and the AM pole for the Mercedes. 0.7 of a second separating our front row, with row 2, McLaren and Audi. Bingo Racing only 5th, with Max Racing alongside. Ponos and K-Tunes on row 4. 2 Ferraris on row 5. Norwick Racing in 11th position. The Nissan in 12th, just the one Nissan this season. And then 5-star Mercedes in 13th position. And then our 3 GT4 cars, 14th, 15th and 16th spot. Bernard. Let's have a look at the highlights then of our first qualifying session. With AM drivers in the cars. It took us a bit of time to get up to speed. Hiroshi Yamaguchi having a couple of attempts to be the fastest guy, fastest through first and second sector. But the third sector was eluding him with traffic. And then finally, he was able to get the lap in, and 7.5 tenths clear of everybody else. The Chevrolet in the first weekend in Europe, not many people running it. The Lexus looking strong, and traffic for Ponos Racing, the local team, trying to get past the Car Guy car. Championship leaders not really showing much, with Shinji Takai at the wheel, the only Porsche, unfortunately. But ultimately, the Lamborghini on the pole position. And now we put the pro drivers in the cars, for those that have a pro driver, and qualifying 2 is underway with pro drivers at the wheel. Here is a look at the Gala Nissan, white and pink livery for Gala themselves. And it will now be Sakaguchi who will take that car over for this second session. And once again, a 15-minute session. But what we will see is the pro drivers managing to get their lap times out a little bit faster. A few drivers choosing not yet to come out onto circuit right at the top of the session. It's cold out there. It's much colder than it's been over the last couple of days of testing. So there'll be a fair bit of adjustment going on. of course, the teams don't need as much time. They don't need the 15 minutes when they've got their pro drivers in. Just a quick look at Nuri Fukuzumi, who is Super GT driver for Rookie Racing. And finished second in the championship back in 2021. Great to have somebody of his stature in the championship. Also Super Formula runner-up, who's raced in Formula 2 and is a Toyota Works driver, which is allowing him hearing to go and test for Haas Racing. He's been a member of the McLaren driver development squad, the Red Bull junior team as well. He's part of the Honda Formula Dream project, and now is part of Toyota Gazoo Racing. So he's been about a bit at the age of 29. With 6 victories to his name. A great name to have in the championship, there is no doubt. We did see him last year with K-Tunes Racing, but we just didn't get any real results from Fukuzumi with K-Tunes. And it's funny how these drivers are so strong in certain types of car, particularly the Super GT, GT500 and Super Formula drivers don't necessarily translate into being a good GT3 driver. Taku Bamba then, another star of Super GT in the Norwich Racing Ferrari. Hasn't really shown us the pace that we would expect from Taku. He looks like he's muscling the Ferrari today. As I say, this is the Evo package. It's a really, really tricky car to find the perfect window. When you're in it, it's one of the very best cars that there is, and obviously led the Spa 24 Hours for quite a lot of it a couple of weekends ago. Absolutely the leader in SRO land, but it does seem for the amateur drivers a really hard car to get across. 39.8, not a bad first lap from Bamba. Everyone else still getting themselves up to speed. The Audi of Jake Parsons coming into shot here. They had a pretty disappointing weekend in Sugo after a problem in qualifying. Parsons, an Australian driver, but has been racing over here in Japan since he won the Japanese Formula 3 National Championship back in 2018. He's also the team owner of AWD Racing, which seems to, unless my entry list has gone a bit awry, have partnered with Cornez for this weekend. They weren't last weekend, but I think possibly AWD were asking for a little bit more support, particularly if then you have an issue like they had back in Sugo, just getting that car back up to speed so it could be a useful car for the weekend. In the end, they did get results, finishing 9th and 7th, but you get the feeling that there's a lot more that can be delivered from this Audi. It's not going to be a pole position lap time for Parsons, and it might not even be, well, it's going to be an improvement, but nobody else has got a lap time in yet apart from Bamba. Bamba has come straight out and banged in 2 purple sectors, but all the other pro drivers are waiting. In fact, that second lap he's aborted Bamba, so into the pits, which suggests he's going to come back out again for another attempt, which is why he was out early and banging maybe old tyre laps, which is quite impressive therefore. Mineki Okura into 2nd position. Parsons 3rd. Better, more representative lap times, but nothing from Sasahara as yet. This will be his first attempt. So maybe we can follow Ukyo Sasahara in the number 9, the only Porsche GT3 car You can hear the Nissan rumbling through camera shot. Completely different noise to the Porsche behind. Through this long turn 5. Ooh, looked as though Sasahara was starting to get a bit of a slide on there through 5. The rear end didn't necessarily want to stick, and yeah, he's bailed out of that lap. I was quite surprised. Turn 5 is just a big, long sort of acceleration zone, really, but the rear end of his car did not want to play. So he's bailed out the lap. He's slotted in behind the Max Racing Mercedes. And maybe looking for a slipstream slingshot then down the main straight from that big grunty AMG. Is Yamasaki in the Ponos Racing Ferrari. They only got a 10th and an 8th. Isuko and Sujiku in the first weekend, so they want to do better as well. Now, they've got a time good enough for 4th position, but there's green sectors coming in from Yamasaki, so it may well be an improvement. Lots of purples, but no, lots of greens, but no purples yet. The Lamborghini of Okura has moved up to pole position ahead of Bamba. But we haven't seen, that is an AM driver, that is an AM time, so we're really not seeing the pro drivers yet show their hand, and Bamba will look at that and think, oh dear, there's an AM driver that's gone faster than me. So that definitely suggests that there was old tyres on that car. Here's Fukuzumi in the Lexus this time. Now, I wonder if he feels more comfortable in a car that is his brand. The 5-star Mercedes following him down the main straight. It's not going to be a pole position for Fukuzumi either yet. Still waiting for purple sectors. Motojima in the Max Racing Mercedes. Here he is. Could this be a challenge, a legitimate challenge from our pro driver up onto the pole position? Because for the moment, we're still waiting. Long-time champion Motojima here in Japan. Super GT 300 champion back in 2024. But also, he's won Porsche Carrera Cup champion 11 years ago, as well as winning the Super FJ championship back in 2012. Sasahara to the pole position then, 0.3 of a second better than Motojima. Now we're starting to see some life. Kawabata pushing on for Cornez Racing, has a purple middle sector. We haven't seen any time yet from Kawabata. They've taken victories in the past in Japan Cup. Is this going to be pole position with 5 minutes remaining? Green sectors from everybody else, but pole position for Kawabata, a 38.7. Jake Parsons, who's been on those set of tyres and pushing on in the Audi for a good couple of laps more than our pro drivers, may well get an improvement out of this. He's down in 6th position right now. He's considered a pro driver against the likes of Kawabata, Sasahara, Fukuzumi, who moves up to 4th position. Parsons, we wait for him to come across the line, and it's 6th position for the Audi. But Okura is still playing with these pros. Incredible stuff. Fumineki Okura back up to 4th position as an AM. Sakaguchi moves up to 2nd in the Nissan then. Just 2.5 tenths back from Kawabata. Here's Kawabata, who is equal to his best time, you would have said, about a 10th of a second separating the two. through the final couple of turns. The car looks good. We're watching Kawabata here, looking to try and improve on his pole time. There's a purple sector coming in from Sakaguchi and the Nissan behind him. And this, as I said, the start of qualifying, this is very much a Nissan kind of a circuit. As Kawabata has gotten faster, a 38.666. Yamashita in the McLaren. Not sure he's going to challenge for pole, but certainly Sakaguchi is. Here is Sakaguchi, no cars around him. Great to see a Nissan. Had 3 of them in Japan Cup last year. It's down to 1 now. And they're such an iconic GT3 car. A little bit long in the tooth now, and certainly will be a challenge to muscle through this final sector of the lap for Sakaguchi. 38.666 is the time to beat. And he has a good couple of tenths in his pocket, but was he clean through the final sector? Shares the car with Gala, who has her name to the car, and it's not good enough. Stays in second position by 0.04 of a second, and he's going to have to push again. Kawabata on the pole, Sakaguchi in second, Yamashita in the McLaren in third, and Sasahara in fourth. A Ferrari, Nissan, McLaren, Porsche, Lexus, Mercedes, Lamborghini. Audi. 8 different brands in the top 8. That is remarkable stuff. With the rest of the Ferraris, 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th. Maybe a improvement here from Fukuzumi in the Lexus. Look how good his times are at the bottom of the screen. He's got Yamashita ahead of him. But Yamashita's given away time in the middle sector. It's the last sector that is the real winner or loser, isn't it? Through the final turn, a grunty Toyota in the hood of that Lexus. It will be the McLaren over the line first. I'm not sure it'll be an improvement. It's not an improvement, and it's not an improvement from Fukuzumi as well. So the time going away in the final sector of the lap. Motojima has pitted in the Max Racing Mercedes and lost a position in doing so, because Jake Parsons finding a little bit of time down in 8th spot. Here's Sakaguchi. Is there enough time from the Nissan to get himself on the pole position? He tries again, but I don't think there's a tyre left in that car to be able to do so. Even if you go green, Uka Sasahara's found a bit more time, so he moves up to 3rd position ahead of the McLaren. Still has the tyre in the final sector. Kawabata once again in this older Ferrari. The 3-litre turbo V6. Of course, we can talk about how that differs from the 488, because we've got a 488 from Car Guy in the field, and they have a 4-litre turbo V8 in that car. Is that going to be an improvement from Jake Parsons coming out the final turn? Be amazed if it is, and I'm not sure there's tyres in any of the cars, because that final sector really demands so much change of direction. Even if they've got even a 1/10.5 in hand from Sakaguchi in the first sector alone. He's slower in the middle sector, but is this going to be enough? Maybe it is for pole position, comes towards the line. And again, just gives away too much in the final sector. That time would still be good enough for 5th position. But unfortunately, Sakaguchi is going to have to settle for 2nd. That's all right, though. That's fine. Kawabata, though, on the pole position. took a victory in race 1 in Sugo. 5th position only in the second race, but only sits 2 points off the lead. And there is Gala, very happy with a front row start. She won't start the car on the front row because she is will be the second driver. This obviously qualifying 2, a qualifying session for race number 2, which is Sunday afternoon. So Shintaro Kawabata on the pole position. Champion, of course, from last year. Cornez Racing with that number 1 on the car. He's also been Super Taiku champion a few years ago, racing in Super GT 300. And actually, this was his main project last year, alongside a single race at the Super Taiku 24-hour race. And we saw him in the Nissan as well last year, but he was champion last year in the number 1, and he's got the number 1 plate and the pole position for race 1. Lamborghini gets pole in AM, in the end dropping down to 9th position, but what a fight from Okura. And then there's your 2 GT4 cars. Porsche on the GT4 Pro-Am pole, and Toyota on the AM pole. Much, much closer at the head of the standings between Sakaguchi and Kawabata. 2.5 tenths back to Sasahara and Yamashita on row 2. Norik and K-Tunes on row 3. And again, we get different brands all the way down to 9th position with Takagi, Yamashita, Otta, 10th, 11th and 12th in those Ferraris. Porsche, Toyota and Mercedes in GT4 at the bottom of our 16-car entry. There's a great look at the undulations of this Fuji circuit in the foothills of Mount Fuji. A little bit of cleaning going up. We've got a couple of support races as well to enjoy, including a Roadster Cup, which is basically a load of Mazda MX-5s. Thankfully, Hana not entering her car into it. Let's go down to Hana though then, who has our pole man.
I'm here with Kawabata Senshu from car number 1 in Japan Cup. Congratulations on pole position. Pole position 獲得おめでとうございます。予選のラップ、どこが一番良かったと思いますか？
まず、Q1 の都築選手の、フィードバックを受けて、電子制御とかいろいろそのあたりを調整して、挑めたというのが一番大きかったなと思います。で、アタック自体正直うまくいったとは言えないぐらいの、アタックではあったんですけれども、攻めきれたなっていう感覚はあります。
改めておめでとうございます。
ありがとうございます。
So he said that Suzuki Senshu did a really good job in his qualifying, and then doesn't feel like he was able to give 100% during his qualifying, but he was able to do just enough.
Great to have our champions from last year on the pole position here in Fuji for race number 2, but it looks tight and therefore it's going to be spicy when it comes to racing. We have Japan Cup race 1 this afternoon and tomorrow afternoon, so make sure you join us. But first up, GT World Challenge Asia race 1 coming up later.